Hi guys, and welcome back to Dave TV. My name is David and thank you for joining me today here on my channel. For those of you guys that don't know, I actually majored in counselor education. That's what my master's is in. And this past year I actually worked at my old middle school as a school guidance counselor. But here on this channel I want to explain to you guys about counseling and what it is. Those are my previous videos, but right now for this video I'm going to tell you guys about the baseline of counseling and how I utilize it, and also different methods that I've used personally in counseling. So to jump right into it, we have here a line straight across on the board. It is the baseline that I kind of give as an example in layman's terms to my friends and family of how I explain the counseling approach and the steps to it. So you have somebody here at the top who's happy, they're smiling, they're good with life right now, but then unfortunately a situation occurs, whether it's somebody passing away or burnout from school. Let's say somebody unfortunately passed away in their life, right? So now they drop down to the sad phase. And during this time, they're not really coping with it well. Their coping mechanisms are just off. It's not working for them. They have maladaptive behaviors that it's just not working and helping them through the situation, right? So now, as a counselor, you speak with them, you assess the situation, and we'll get into methods and what I use personally. But you assess the situation, you speak to the individual about it, and then now they probably have like semi-happy, semi-not. They're kind of happy, kind of sad still, but they're able to deal with the situation a little better. And a lot of times, you'll find people just drop out of counseling like right here, right? And in my experience, they'll drop out, I don't need it anymore, I'm fine, I went, it didn't help. But what you want to do is you want to stick through it, because in my experience, there's always a breakthrough, right? And that's the joy of counseling. You raise your consciousness to a level of, wow, I was going through this, like, it's okay to acknowledge what I'm going through and not to just like play it off or whatnot and repress it. And that's what we're going to get to later in the video. I'm repressing the situation or I'm escaping from the situation, and it's not helping the situation, right? So you have a breakthrough, and people always think that you have to cry during a breakthrough. No, it could just be an epiphany, guys, right? So you're at a semi-happy, not so happy place. You have the breakthrough, you get sad a little, you're aware of it, it drops you down a little emotionally. But you come back and you realize that counseling is working, because you're now raised your emotions throughout the situation and you're happier. And this is why I have the dots here. You may be even back at a point where you were or in a greater space, right? And how does it reflect with the methods that I'm going to show you guys? Well, some of the methods that I've used personally for my students and with people I know, CBT is one method. So what CBT is cognitive behavioral therapy, right? And it has to do with your thoughts on the situation. Not the situation itself, guys, the thoughts on the situation. So for example, somebody I know goes shopping and they get shopper's anxiety for whatever reason, right? And it's their thoughts on the situation, whatever they may be, and that same person may be comfortable at home, but once they go shopping, it's an issue. Me, on the other hand, I may be fine going shopping because I know I'm just go in, get out. I have a positive approach, positive thoughts, positive self-talk on the situation at hand, that I'm fine with it. So my thoughts themselves, separate from the situation, are in good hands and they're good thoughts. But the other person, their thoughts on the situation, they relate to it as bad. So that's what CBT is. We're trying to get that voice in your head to be aware of the thoughts on the situation is what's really the issue at hand, not the situation itself. SFBT is solution-focused brief therapy, and I use that mainly in schools. And not to break the fourth wall, guys, but a lot of counselors I know personally use it, this method of counseling in particular, simply because the caseload or the workload for counselors in schools is probably like 1 to 250, so 1 to 250 students, and odds are you're not seeing every student. And a lot of times, this type of counseling method is used for a student that has a situation where probably their grades are low, they're not performing what they're accustomed to performing to, right? But you speak to them and you create a goal plan for them or a course of action plan for them. And then usually over time, they just check in with you and they tell you about how they're doing in school and what's going on with them. And that's how I use SFBT. And going forward, this is actually one of my favorite therapeutic approaches, because I know how it could apply to so many people, even apply to myself. As I said in my previous intro here on the channel, I had gone through trauma. My parents divorced when I was 7, and I also had my mother in an abusive relationship. And a lot of REBT which is rational emotive behavioral therapy, has to deal with ego defense mechanisms, right? The ego, in a lot of ways, in theory, is to help you survive, but it can also be to our detriment, right, guys? So, for REBT, where it's used mainly in therapy, you have rationalization. So, for example, you go outside, you play basketball, you want to be put on a team, somebody didn't pick you up. You don't know why they didn't pick you up, but you rationalize, and you don't ask them the questions that you want the answers to. You just say, well, he didn't pick me up, he doesn't like me, right? The person doesn't like me. Oh, they didn't pick me up because I'm whack, right? A self-defeating voice in your head. They didn't pick me up. Well, that's okay, I didn't want to play anyway. You know, you're denying yourself the chance, you're lying to yourself. And in a way, rationalization, you're just giving yourself the answers to questions that you didn't even ask yet, right? Repression, for me, I use this a lot when I was in a home where my mom was getting abused, and I just didn't think about the stress. And the way I tell people about repression is the stress that we have on our body can affect us horribly, horrendously. So a lot of you guys probably know about the water bottle, stress in the water bottle. And for those of you that don't know about it, right, so pretend you're holding a water bottle, and you could probably hold that water bottle on one arm for an hour, right? Now you probably gotta switch arms, and eventually your arm's gonna give way. You're holding it, and it drops, right, guys? So with that, think about that as stress. Now you can hold on to the smallest amount of stress, but over time it adds up to it, because it break you down, and that's why repression is so dangerous. Regression, on the other hand, something I personally didn't really deal with, but I know people who have, and it's basically you're going back to a happier time in your life because the situation at hand is too heavy for you to deal with, right? So this could be because your coping mechanisms on the situation aren't fully developed to handle the situation at hand, or your maladaptive behaviors are just meant for a certain time in life where they work and they're not working out, right? You're adapting to them on the fly. So regression, you may be somebody who has going through a stressful situation, and now when you're going through it, your ego is telling you kind of probably to run or to return to a place where you'll be better off, you know. So a lot of times you can be more childlike, and that's one example. You just return to like a childlike stage, right? That's regression, right? Escapism is something I used heavily as well in high school. I would go home, I didn't like where I was, and I would just go in my room, close the door, and play my games. And I was escaping the video games. So this is 4 of the ego defense mechanisms. I'll put more in a later video. But this is why I love REBT so much, rational emotive behavioral therapy, because it applies to so many people and so many issues at hand in society, right? But that's the video. I hope this video helped you guys know a little bit more about the baseline of counseling and how it helps, and how we use the methods at hand to help individuals or individual at hand to cope with whatever situation they may be going through. And thank you guys for tuning in to my video. This is the 3rd video here on Dave TV. Please like, subscribe, and there'll be more videos on the way. Thank you.